Hi guys, it's Miss Ools in my kitchen doing math in my kitchen. I miss you guys and I wish that we could be back in class together, but we're going to have to make this work. I'm going to try to make it as much like class as I can, so we're going to start with problems that we work together. This is all going to be review, and if you remember back to the olden days, back before spring break, when we were working on systems of equations, and we worked on 3 different ways that we could solve systems of equation. A system is when you have more than one variable. You have equations that have more than one variable. In this case, we have 2 variables. We have an x and a y. So we're going to have to figure out the value of x and the value of y instead of just solving for one variable. And one of the ways that we learned was called substitution, and it's where we literally are going to substitute one thing for another. And if you look, they've already got y solved for us in both of the equations, so I can pick one, and I'm just going to pick the first one because I like to pick the first one, and I'm going to put parentheses around 3x plus 19 because they're not telling us an actual number value for y, but they're telling us that y is 3x plus 19. Okay, so now I can take 3x plus 19 and I can substitute it into this other equation in place of y. So in place of y, I'm going to rewrite this equation. In place of y, I'm going to use 3x plus 19. So I'm going to write down 3x plus 19 equals 5x plus 33. Now make sure you're writing down everything I'm writing down, just like if you were taking notes in class. Okay, and the good thing is now you can pause me and rewind me and everything else. And you can, if I'm going too fast for you, you can stop. Now that I've substituted 3x plus 19 in place of y, I'm just going to use my algebra to solve this. So I'm going to I want to remove this 3x from over here by subtracting it and move it over here. So I've got 19 equals 2x plus 33. Okay, and then I need to move this 33 over here. So I'm going to subtract it from this side. Subtract it from this side. 19 minus 33 is what? Negative 14. So I've got negative 14 equals 2x. And when I divide by 2, I end up with negative 7 equals x. So now I've found a number value for x, which is negative 7, but I'm not done because I have another variable that I have to solve for. Remember, this system has 2 variables, so we have to solve for 2 variables. So I'm just going to go back up here, and again, I can choose either one, but I'm going to choose the first one, and I'm going to put a negative 7 in place of x. So I'm going to rewrite this, y equals 3 times negative 7 plus 19. And I'm going to draw a line here so that my work doesn't all smush together. Okay, so then y equals negative 21 plus 19. And negative 21 plus 19 is negative 2. So now I have an x and I have a y, and I'm going to write my final answer as an ordered pair. I'm going to write it as x comma y. So I'm going to put negative 7 comma negative 2 with parentheses. I'm going to put a box around it because it's my final answer. Okay. So just remember, this is the x value, this is the y value. If I was to put in a negative 7 for x and put in a negative 2 for y into both of these, they would both work out because that's the x and the y that would work for both of these in this system. I'm going to pause you while I write up your next problem. Okay, go ahead and write up your next problem. Hopefully this is refreshing your memory. If you look at these two, one of them, we're looking for one that's already solved if possible. And this one has the first one that's already solved for y. And they're telling us that y equals x plus 8. So I'm going to put parentheses around x plus 8 because this is what I'm going to use in place of y. So now I'm going to rewrite my second equation with x plus 8 in place of y. So x plus 8 equals 2. Now, if you look at this one, there's nothing, I've got my x plus 8 in parentheses, but there's nothing that I have to distribute. There's just a positive sign, which isn't going to do anything to anything that's inside the parentheses. So I can go ahead and just take the parentheses off. okay, because there's nothing I have to distribute. There's no number, there's no negative sign. And now I'm going to solve this using algebra, using my algebra. X plus x is 2x plus 8 equals 2. And then I have to subtract the 8 from both sides. So 2x equals negative 6. When I divide by 2, I end up with x equals negative 3. Okay, so I'm not done yet. I've got to take the negative 3 and go back and pick one of the equations and put in a negative 3. I'm going to pick the first one. So y equals negative 3 plus 8. So that means that y equals 5. Okay, I'm going to write my answer as an ordered pair. So I've got negative 3, comma 5. And that's my final answer. Okay, I'm going to pause you while I write the next. Okay, here's your next problem. Go ahead and write it down. And again, it's already solved. One of the equations is already solved for y for me, so I have less work that I have to do. So I'm going to pick this one, and I'm going to use 2x plus 1 in place of y. So I'm going to go down into my next equation, and I'm just going to write in 2x plus 1 in place of y. So 2x minus, do not ignore this subtraction, this negative sign. It still goes there, and then everything in place of y is 2x plus 1 equals 3. Okay, this negative sign is going to affect what's inside the parentheses. I'm going to have to distribute it. And remember, it's just like distributing a negative 1. Okay, so it's just going to change the sign on everything that's inside the parentheses. So I'm going to rewrite it. I've got 2x minus 2x minus 1 equals 3. Okay. Now, when I go to solve it, I see that 2x minus 2x is no x. So I've canceled out my x's. Okay, and I'm just left with negative 1 equals 3. And remember, when that happens, I have to ask myself, am I left with something that's true or am I left with something that's false? And in this case, negative 1 does not equal 3, so it's false. So my answer is going to be no solution. If you're left with, because that means that there's no value of x and y that would make both of these true at the same time. So there's no solution. If you are left with something that is true, if you're left with like 3 equals 3 or 5 equals 5, if you're left with something that's true, then your answer would be infinitely many solutions. That means that anything would work. Okay. Pause. Okay, this one's going to be your last example. Go ahead and copy it down. And if you look, this time I'm looking for something, a variable that's already by itself, something that's already solved. And there is one that's already solved for you, but it's for x instead of for y, and that's fine. You can substitute with x or you can substitute with y. So in this case, they're telling us that x is equal to negative 2y minus 21. So I'm going to put parentheses around it, and I'm going to use negative 2y minus 21 in place of x up here. So I'm going to rewrite this with negative 2y minus 21 in place of x. So 3 parentheses, negative 2y minus 21 minus 7y equals 41. Okay, so now I'm left with an equation to solve that. It just has all y's in it. Now I've got this 3 here that I need to distribute. So I'm going to distribute the 3. Negative 6y minus 63 minus 7y equals 41. Okay, and if I look over here, I've got a negative 6y and a negative 7y. So together I have negative 13y's minus 63 equals 41. Okay, so finish it up. I need to add 63 to both sides. So I've got negative 13y equals 104. And when I divide by negative 13, I end up with what, a negative 8? Y equals negative 8. Okay, so I end up with a y equals negative 8. But I'm not done because I need to know what his partner is. So I'm going to go back up here. I'm just going to choose the first one. Actually, I'm going to make a smart choice and I'm going to choose the second one because the second one already is solved for x. So that means there's going to be less work. Okay, it would work if I used the first one, but I'm choosing the second one because I want to do less work. And I draw a line here so I don't smush my work together. Okay, so I'm going to use a negative 8 in place of y. And remember, I said I'm choosing the second one for less work. So x equals negative 2. I'm putting in a negative 8 in place of y minus 21. Okay, all I did was put this y in place of this y here. Okay, so x equals 16 minus 21. Negative 2 times negative 8 is positive 16. 16 minus 21 is going to give me what? A negative 5. Okay, now I know my y and I know my x. And I'm going to write it as an ordered pair, as an x comma y. So negative 5 comma negative 8. Okay. Now, keep these as your notes to look back at, and you can pause me and rewind me and rewatch me. I'm sure you love that. And then I'm going to pause here in a second, and I'm going to give you your independent practice problems. So I want to explain to you how, the way I see this working. Some of you, if you were happy with your grade on the last day before spring break, then you may keep that grade and you don't need to submit your work to me. You can just do your work and check your work when I post the solutions, and that's fine. If you want credit to help raise your grade, if you want to make your grade better, you can submit your work to me. I'm going to give you some practice problems here in just a minute, and you can submit your work to me. You can either email it to me. You can go on to the school website and send me an email that way. You can, I've added a lot of you onto Facebook, onto our Facebook page. You can go through Facebook and Messenger, I think, and send me a picture of your work that way. Or if none of that works, get a hold of me, private message me, and I can have you text it to me. I can have you text pictures of your work to me. We'll figure out a way for you to get me your work. Today is Monday. So your deadline to have the practice problems done is going to be tomorrow night, Tuesday, which would be April the 7th, by midnight, to send me pictures of your work, of the practice problems. If you've done them and you've tried them and I can tell that you've tried to work them out, then you'll get points towards raising your grade. All right. So the policy is they're calling it a no fault grading system because this isn't anyone's fault. And so the only thing that you can do is make your grade better. There's not going to be anything that's going to make your grade any worse. Okay. So if you want to submit work for credit, you need to do it by tomorrow night. Take a picture of it, get it sent to me in some way by tomorrow night by midnight. Okay. I'm going to pause you so that I can figure out how to give you your problems. Have your pencil and paper ready. And then you can pause it, take a screenshot, whatever you need to do. And then you'll just copy the problems down just as if you were working out of a textbook. Okay, pause. Okay, I'm going to try to get this positioned to where you can get a good view of it and get a screenshot of it. I've got 8 problems for you. Okay, let me get it. Can you see them? Oh, I hope you can see them. Okay, so copy those down. And I've got 4 more problems on the back. Let me situate it. Yeah. Okay, write these problems down. I think you should be able to see those. Okay, so just copy those down, work those. If you need help, you can post, like if you're stuck on a problem, post your work onto the Facebook page and then we can all work together to help each other that way. Like I said, tomorrow night by midnight is your deadline. Then Wednesday we'll come back and I'll post my work. I'll show you guys my work so that you can grade your own work. So even if you're submitting things to me, you still need to grade over your own work so that you know that you are doing it correctly. Okay. And then I'll give you some more problems to work on. I miss you guys, and I will see you Wednesday morning. Check back for another video. Remember, submit your work tomorrow, and then Wednesday morning, check back for another video. Bye, guys.